This video covers high challenge course climber preparation as well as vertical and traversing dynamic belays. Climber preparation begins with introducing participants to the proper use of challenge course equipment and gear. Having participants understand how equipment should be worn and treated, such as helmets being placed on the ground correctly, remember, happy turtles, is important to minimize risk and provide for participant and equipment safety. Proper manufacturer instructions and requirements for use, fit, and adjustments to all equipment should be reviewed. For commercially manufactured seat harnesses, such as the Headwall Universal Seat Harness used here, it's important to take the time needed to model and guide participants on how to wear their harness correctly. Be sure all straps are secured appropriately, such as double backing all adjustable buckles. A properly fitted harness is important for safety as well as comfort. Once all participants have fitted their harnesses, be sure to double check each harness to make sure all buckles are double backed and there are no twists in waist or back loops. Again, follow manufacturer instructions and requirements when fitting helmets. Many helmets are easily adjustable for universal use. Helmets should be worn to cover and protect the forehead and head. Have participants with long hair tie their hair up to keep it out of the way. Use the adjustable dial to provide for proper fit and comfort. And attach and adjust the chin strap to secure the helmet but also allow for comfort. Remind all participants to remove rings, tuck in or remove loose jewelry, and remove loose items in pockets such as cell phones. A vertical dynamic belay is used on elements that require a participant to climb from the bottom to the top of the element and then be lowered by the belayer to the ground. When introducing participants to an element, it is important to take the time needed to give a brief description of the element, explain how the element is used, and review all operating procedures for the element. It's also important to explain the components of a belay and how a belay works to the participants, as well as teach proper use of belay commands. When a climber is ready to climb, clip the climber knot into the climber's harness with an appropriate carabiner and be sure the carabiner is locked. Now clip yourself into the belay, orient the belay device appropriately, lock the carabiner, check that it's locked, and take in all slack. Now conduct a proper safety check of the 6 H's to determine climber readiness. Check the participant's helmet, their hair, review their hardware, including their climber's knot. Check their harness. Point out any hazards. And check in with the human. Make sure they're feeling good before their climb. Now have the climber walk with you past the element support pole. The aim is to pull the belay anchor attached above to the horizontal belay cable over as close as possible to the pole. A horizontal belay cable has drape or sag in the cable. The horizontal belay cable can be broken into 3 parts: the first third, the middle third, and the second first third. The first thirds are located closest to the pole and extend out to where the belay cable sag begins to settle in what is known as the middle third. The goal of the vertical dynamic belay is to keep the belay anchor in the first third. In the event of a fall or lower, this keeps the participant from moving out into the middle third due to the belay cable sag. Once the belay anchor has been moved to the first third of the horizontal belay cable, have the climber walk back to the element. Take in slack to keep the belay anchor in place. Move to the set position, which will be just past the support pole. The set position allows you to keep the belay anchor in place throughout the entire belay. Go through commands with your climber and have them begin climbing. Provide the climber with constant use of good belay technique. Give the climber proper tension and slack, and anticipate the climber's rise and control their rate of ascent by asking the climber to slow down if needed to provide a proper belay. Once a climber has gone as far as they wish to or can go, remember the elements of a safe dismount. Take up slack and add tension. You can use the Belayer's hop to help. Set yourself to the power spot and get into a Belayer's brace. Use a double brake by placing both hands on the brake. Have another participant pull the element slightly away to create a direct path to lower. Communicate ready to lower and lower position to the climber. Have the climber put their feet hip distance apart and place both hands on the rope above the knot. Now lower the climber with a slow, safe rate of descent. Once down, communicate off belay to the climber and check in with them. If needed to maintain power spot and belayer's brace during the belay or lower, have someone act as a belay anchor by holding the back of the belayer's harness. A traversing dynamic belay is used on elements that require a participant to climb from the bottom to the top of the element, usually by climbing the support pole, then traversing the element to the opposite support pole, and then back to the middle to be lowered by the belayer to the ground. Just as with vertical dynamic belay elements, be sure to introduce the participant to the element. Give a brief description, explain how the element is used, and review all operating procedures for the element. Also, be sure to review climber preparation by covering the 6 H's. The traversing dynamic belay requires significantly more movement by the belayer than a vertical dynamic belay. The aim of the belayer on a traversing dynamic belay is to keep the belay anchor in the first third of the horizontal belay cable as the climber climbs the support pole by maintaining the first set position. As the climber moves across the element, the belayer must maintain a lead position parallel to slightly in front of the climber to help move the belay anchor across the middle third and into the first third of the horizontal belay cable. The second set position is reached on the other side of the traversing element by the support pole with the belay anchor now in the first third of the cable. The belayer then leads the climber back to the middle of the element with the belay anchor in the middle third of the horizontal belay cable in order to establish their power spot for the lower. After conducting a proper safety check, including the 6 H's, and reviewing proper use of commands, establish your first set position. The first set position is just beyond the pole with the belay anchor in the first third of the cable. Constantly use good belay technique. Give the climber proper tension and slack, and anticipate the climber's rise and control their rate of ascent. When the climber reaches the top of the support pole and establishes themselves on the element, begin to move to the lead position by moving parallel to the climber and taking in slack. The lead position is parallel to slightly in front of the climber. As the climber traverses the element, help lead the belay anchor across the middle third of the horizontal belay cable. Adjust your belay position as needed and use double brake when resting. As you move into the first third, you will feel some drag on the belay anchor as the sag in the horizontal belay cable creates an uphill slope for the belay anchor to move into the first third. Adjust your belay as needed and begin moving past the second support pole to the second set position. Once the climber has reached the other side of the traversing element, lead them back to the middle of the element with the belay anchor in the middle third of the horizontal belay cable. Review the elements of a safe dismount. Set to the power spot. Take up slack and add tension with the belayer's hop, and get in the belayer's brace. Double brake. Place both hands on the brake. If needed, have someone act as a belay anchor. Communicate ready to lower and the lower position. Climbers should have their feet hip distance apart and place both hands on the rope above the knot. Lower the climber with a slow, safe rate of descent. It's important to recognize when you're out too far and not in your power spot on a lower. As the climber begins to lower, their weight can drag you in towards the element, causing you to have to readjust your belay and recenter to a new power spot. At the end of your day, take some time for reflection with your group and congratulate them on a great day. Review how to properly remove all challenge course gear and store properly for future use.